All righty, here we go. So thanks again, Sarah, for joining me. And you're the second person to kind of start this series of success stories. And I got your information from Bob Kaler because
Mhm.
he's a mentor of mine. And the whole point of this is kind of just to share your experience with rehab and the journey that you went on with your injury history and kind of telling us a little bit about, what made your experience unique and why it was successful. So you could kind of just start by giving like a brief history about yourself, um, maybe a brief little rundown of why you went to PT, if you ever had PT before, and just a little bit about the symptoms you were dealing with.
Okay, yeah. So I've been an athlete my whole life, specifically, I would say more recently in my adolescence, I was doing a lot of martial arts, specifically Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is
Nice.
very, very hard on your body. And I think after years of being worn down and having a lot of combat-based injuries from that sport, I originally started seeing Mike for some knee pain that came on pretty suddenly. I actually thought I had tore my ACL or meniscus or something. I thought it was pretty severe because I couldn't even walk on it.
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully, I didn't tear anything, but through that journey, I met both Bob and Mike, which I know Mike has trained pretty extensively under Bob, and found out I had a lot of pretty severe and significant muscle weaknesses my entire life. In my hip flexor muscles, my hamstrings, like just basically my whole body was not operating the way an ideal human body should be. And
And
I
you're an
wasn't even
athlete.
aware of this. Yeah, I wasn't even aware of this, like going through so much athletic training, meeting with coaches, going to tournaments, like no one was telling me that technique was wrong. I wasn't engaging my core properly, like
Mm-hmm.
just wild stuff. So that's kind of where I started with them.
Got it. So what were you originally being? It was the knee, right? And then is it true you had some kind of arm symptoms as well?
Yeah, so my journey with Bob has been pretty extensive so far. So I had the knee stuff and they got me like pretty back into shape with that. I started lifting again, deadlifting, squatting. It's been great. And then I entered graduate school 3 years ago to get my doctorate in psychology. I've been sitting all of the time, studying, typing,
Mm-hmm.
also not realizing that my posture and everything of that nature while doing those things is absolutely horrific. Not good. And so I've
Mm-hmm.
been seeing Bob more recently to help me with some like forearm impingement, posture related stuff, which ultimately just I've found out throughout the years throughout my life I've been walking and acting and sitting like this. So Bob is really just helping to transform me as a whole.
Mm-hmm. What kind of forearm symptoms were you dealing with? Was it like weakness? Was it pain? Was it like numbness and tingling?
Yeah, so I originally had actually started out as I don't know if this is a medical term, but like trigger finger, like trigger
Yeah.
thumb, where my fingers would actually shake so much from typing and it wouldn't stop even when I wasn't typing. And that started to really scare me because I thought that was like a nerve impingement or something that was really going wrong. So that was my first sign and symptom. And then I had really, really extreme forearm tightness, like to the point where I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't even really extend my hands.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I thought it was carpal tunnel. Bob thankfully was able to help me so much in so many ways through different muscle balances and strengthening that. I think it would have turned into carpal tunnel over time, but I think through preventative measures and what he's been doing with me, it's hopefully never going to turn into that. So,
Mm-hmm. You said you had PT before, like with Mike. You met him. You met Bob through Mike. Did you ever have PT prior to that for anything?
I did. I was referred to NovaCare
Novacare. Yeah.
originally for my knee. It was my first PT experience ever, and by far my sorry, NovaCare, my worst PT experience. I was just given stretches and I sat with an ice pack for the rest of the time, and that was it. And I thought
Yeah.
that's what PT
Unfortunately.
was. And I literally left appointments crying. No, like it didn't help me, and I felt hopeless, and like I could never run again or squat again. And I thought that's what PT was. Um, until I saw a
Yeah, that's
doctor
horrible.
at Temple University, an orthopedic surgeon, and he told me about Mike and Bob, and I saw them, and I never looked back.
Good for you. Like you're definitely one of the lucky ones because unfortunately that cookie cutter stuff is the reality of a lot of our profession. Like people just get burnout and lazy and tired and don't really give a crap. You know what I mean? Like they just put people on modalities and they want to get their day over with. And unfortunately,
Mhm.
you know, that's the reality of a lot of people's experiences with PT. So I'm glad you found a place that actually cares and that you got better going to, because not everybody gets that luxury. And it's
Mhm.
clear that, that place is a little different. So talk to me about like walking into that place first time, right? Because there's a lot that goes into being an athlete and walking into a facility that, number one, has turf, right? In my mind, like playing sports my whole life, that just immediately did something to my brain. And
Mhm.
then seeing the machine for the first time, like what were the two things that kind of went through your head when you entered that place, and how is it a little different than the NovaCare place you went to?
Yeah, so the first time I saw Mike and Bob, they were actually inside of a gym, like an actual facility.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, whoa, they're actually connected to people who are exercising. That's rare. Most of the PT places I've been to have been like old ellipticals and Bosu balls, and that's it. So my first reaction was not only like physically was this space opening and very like athletically oriented. I think what stands out to me the most, though, if I'm being honest, is the emotional and mental atmosphere of what Bob and Mike have created. I think a lot of
Absolutely.
PT environments are depressing, white walls. I mean, even the staff like feel bored or
Yeah.
depressed at
Bummed
times.
out. Yeah.
And there's just a certain level of energy within working with these guys at Ivy that like I think is a huge component of recovery is the mental and
Definitely.
emotional portion of it. The first time I saw the column core, I was terrified. I still call it the torture machine, but in the best way because I think
Me too.
it's a torture machine in the way that like it works the muscles that you never thought should be or could be working. And so I was
Hmm.
100% intimidated and terrified.
Hmm.
Um, just because I never used it before. And over
Hmm.
time it turned out to be something that was rewarding rather than scary.
Absolutely. I had the same exact first thought when I first saw it. I was like, this looks terrifying.
It's
And then you
huge
get on
too.
it. Exactly. And then you get on it and you're like, this is pretty awesome. Like this starts to identify weaknesses I never knew I had. And then as you get
Exactly.
stronger, you build confidence and you're like, this is working me in ways that I've never experienced. And as athletes that have been using our bodies and working out our whole lives, to have something
Hmm.
new like that really like open up your eyes, I thought for
Hmm.
me was mind blowing.
Yeah, I
And
agree
I'm
with you.
glad that you agree. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the biggest things that I would joke with Bob a lot is tibialis muscle, the
Mm-hmm.
one that connects to your
Tibet,
foot.
tibet
Yes,
anterior.
that one. That I joke about. I'm not a PT, I'm not anatomy oriented at all, but that muscle, the amount I felt it work by using the column core, and I've never felt that muscle work
Yeah.
ever in my life through running, through squatting, deadlifting.
Right.
I've never ever felt that muscle work unless I've used the column core, which I think
Mm-hmm.
speaks volumes to what it does.
Yeah. The front of your shin gets burning like no other.
Like no other. Yeah, it's really and it makes you feel good too. Like I think a lot of exercise can make you feel worse afterwards, and this doesn't.
Right. It gives you just enough resistance. And that's what I love about it. It's like the resistance band is obviously there's different bands and you can adjust that. But as you get, it's kind of the reverse of a lot of different movements that we're used to, like the squatting. Instead of like the resistance on the way up, it's the resistance on the way down. So it's just like a lot of the muscle groups are the ones that never get utilized in certain motions or in certain patterns. That's what I love about it too. It's like it's just such a new feeling that, even as somebody that's been working out, you don't get, or you've never had exposure to, but you find, a way to get used to it and love it very quickly.
Yeah. You're so right. And it's even transformed my like just regular compound lifts in such a way that I don't experience really pain after them anymore, which I don't think you ever should, but I did.
Hmm.
So,
Right. That's really cool. So, um, you already talked about like kind of the emotional energy and the atmosphere. I agree with you completely. Like that, it's palpable when you walk into a place like that. It's between the music that's playing, it's the attitude of the people working there, it's the stuff that's on the wall. Like the little details make a difference. Like the fun little questions they do, like the engagement, because the sad reality is that's like 1%, probably even less than that, of PT facilities in this country. And it's like you walk into a place that have like old, sad brown carpets, nothing on the
Yeah.
wall, not a lot of, like natural light. They have like, just nothing that's engaging to a
Right.
youthful, like athletic population. And
You're
that's
so
where I
right.
think they really like carved out a nice little niche for themselves, is because they take the time to do that stuff
Yeah.
and like pay attention to the details, and that all contributes to a successful rehab, I'm sure.
I 100% agree. I think it's one of the biggest factors, honestly. I'm getting my doctorate in psychology right now, clinical psychology. So I am so aware and mindful of those energies in those spaces. And
Hmm.
Bob and Mike have done it like no other, especially with adolescents who come in there and are severely depressed from injury. I mean, it's just a different world in there that actually makes you want to get better.
Hmm. So talk to me about like the eval. Did Bob do your eval?
Um, he did my eval for the second time I came in. The first time I came into Ivy, Mike did it.
Okay. So they both have a unique kind of approach to an eval.
Yeah.
Both are great. But talk to me about like the little things that they took the time to do. Because I've been like I learned so much just by sitting there and listening to both of them go through like many, many evals. And it was clear that like right from the get-go, they get patient buy-in day one. And that's super important, because if you lose somebody before you even start the process, like it's hard to get back. You know what I mean? But if you get their confidence and you really like strike a chord, and you can see um, by their face, by the parents' attitude when they walk out of there, that they're bought in. Talk to me about like what do you think did it for you, and what kind of skills do they possess that make them and their approach unique?
I 100% know the exact thing that bought me in. And I don't know if Mike and Bob had shown you this when you were there, but they have these little sensors that
Yeah,
they'll
Dorsey
put
V.
instantly bought me in.
Yeah.
I did all the exercises, I did the run, I did the planks, and I was like, that was fine. And then Mike showed
Mm-hmm.
me the results, and I was like, very
Mm-hmm.
much not fine.
Humbling.
And I think what
Humbling.
brought me in is that I think a lot of PT places will use a lot of qualitative information and go based off your symptoms. Like, you can't walk well, you have weakness here. And this was real time data that I could bring home
Mm-hmm.
with me and look at. And that instantly brought me in to wanting to trust and work with them.
Agree with you 100%, because yeah, somebody that's well educated, that's devoted, that understands the importance of quantitative analytics, like that totally does it over for you. And I agree, like even the quick board that they use, the quick board, and between
Mhm.
that, like that's really cool stuff that not a lot of places use.
Right.
Obviously, like the high end, like performance places and college athletics, I hope all of them use that, and obviously pros. But like on a high school level, and like in a typical outpatient ortho clinic, you're not gonna get that. And
No.
so I agree with you. That makes a huge difference, because you can't just trust somebody that is kind of just telling you what you want to hear. Like you're really convinced by the data because it's there, and you can't lie about that.
Yeah. I do like the data, and that bought me in for sure.
That's super cool. What other things changed in your life as a result of this rehab? Like, how has your relationship to your body changed, as far as like being mindful, being, your approach to, you already talked about posture a little bit, but like, have you made little adjustments here and there, like ergonomic, like the way you sleep or drive or position yourself in certain settings, like all little stuff like that matters and it adds up. So like, has any of that really come through and made a difference as a result of just this overall enhancement of your awareness and performance?
Yes. And I'm laughing because as you were asking that question, I'm thinking of like almost how neurotic I've become with being aware of my body. And
Mm-hmm.
I think like what started with a lot of forearm tightness and like some tennis elbow stuff that I was working out originally with Bob was the way I sleep at night. Um, both of my arms would completely fall asleep, and I was like, Bob, I don't know why this is happening. And we talked about the way I sleep, how I sleep, my sleep routine, like stuff PTs don't talk with you about, like being off of your screen 30 minutes before bedtime, adding some stretches and PT exercises before you go to bed, like making it applicable to daily life, which a lot of PT doesn't do.
Mm-hmm.
So recognizing the way I sleep and not only recognizing how my body walks now, how I exercise, being aware and more mindful of what hurts and what that means for me and how I need to move differently. And I think the coolest part of all of it is observing other people and how they move. And
Yeah. Be careful
now
because once
being
you start, it's hard to get out.
like just going to the beach this summer and walking on the boardwalk and seeing people run by, and I'm like, oh man, like
Yep.
it's only a few months until they're gonna get hurt. Like being even that aware and mindful now of seeing others and knowing what's
Mm-hmm.
going on, that's like an amazing feeling to be aware not only of your own body, but to be aware of other people's, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really
Absolutely.
cool. Really
I'm there
cool.
with you. I can't walk behind somebody without like over analyzing their gait. And but that's all goes to say like that's the point of this interaction, right? Is because that approach is so like holistic. And that word is overused, but like it really is. It takes
It
into
is.
account like your entire life. And that's what makes it unique. And that's why I'm so interested in like learning and hearing people's experiences with this column core training system because that's what sets it apart is like it doesn't just look at things in isolation. It kind of teaches you to address the body as a moving system that has many moving parts, but every part affects another. You know what I mean? Like nothing is really trained in isolation. Nothing is really thought about diagnostically or pathologically in isolation. And that's what, unfortunately, it sounds like, was your previous experience with PT. Like they just threw some modalities at you and said, "I hope this works."
Yep.
But that's what makes, in my mind, and clearly you agree, that this philosophy so different and so successful.
Yeah, I want to share one more thing on top of that because what you said reminded me of something, and like an outlook, like a life outlook I have now because of this treatment. My first experience with PT, and honestly, just I think the medical system at large is, to your point, very allopathic, focusing on one area, not really using broad brushstrokes to look at someone as a whole person. And I felt that way going into my first PT experience too. Like, let's focus on this one muscle, let's stretch this one muscle. I was like, man, there's no one in this country, like not a single medical professional that looks at us holistically, unless you're going to
Mm-hmm.
like a homeopathic physician.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike and Bob have fully transformed my view on physical therapy as being maybe one of the only medical modalities that actually does look at everything all at once, the whole moving body, the whole person,
Mm-hmm.
mental, emotional stability, diet,
Absolutely.
sleep. Like Mike and Bob have transformed that for me. So I just wanted to share that.
Hell yeah. And I totally agree. And hopefully, the profession trends in that direction, but you're totally right. Like even just between the electrolytes, like what PT that doesn't care about you is gonna like tell you about, oh, are you hydrated? Like, are you getting enough sleep? By the way, stop looking at your phone right before you fall asleep. It's messing
Yeah.
with your sleep. Like the fact that that extra effort is put in is why they're so successful. So I
100%.
appreciate the fact that you recognize that because um, that's what makes the difference, and that's what is going to set this profession and treatment and rehab in the right direction. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I appreciate them. I mean, it's literally been life-changing. I just feel so grateful, like thinking about where I could be placed on this earth in this world right now. Like I literally think about this. If I were
Hmm.
in any other state or any other part of the world, I wouldn't have this opportunity to like actually get the help I need, and that's so rare. And I just hope it becomes more accessible through education to like newer PTs like yourself.
Amen. Everything happens for a reason, and I love to end on that note. Gratitude. Thank you,
Gratitude.
Sarah, for taking the time.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. We'll talk soon.
All right, thank you. Bye.